Hey guys, just before the video starts, I have a little disclaimer. That being that I'm not trying to act as some sort of authority figure or discourage people from drawing the things that I am drawing in this video, because it is entirely subjective and just my personal things that aren't even necessarily wrong. It's just things that I don't particularly like in character design. Once again, it's subjective, so please don't allow this to upset you because it is not worth getting upset over. Okay, so to get into this, I would like to begin with the head being too small to support the face. And what I mean by that is where the face is huge in comparison to the rest of the head, and it's like they have a tiny brain. Because if you think about it, human skulls are made to support the human brain, right? So the average human brain is about 1.3 to 1.4 kilos. In pounds, that's like, I don't know. So just anatomically speaking, like this character I'm drawing's head is just really kind of effed up, not gonna lie. Which is, I guess, why it looks so odd to me. It's just because typically human brain to skull ratio is quite different in comparison to other animals, which is why I guess it looks sort of uncanny to me. Next one is the extreme agiosal. So agiosal, if you don't know, is like a little fat deposit right underneath your eye, and everyone has it. It just depends on the amount. Specifically in East Asian countries, they will typically use makeup to exaggerate this feature and highlight it because it looks cute. I'm also a fan of this. I think they're really pretty. But I guess the exaggerated agiosal reminds me of a video I saw where, or a picture even, where I saw that people were getting dermal fillers to make their agiosals more apparent, and I guess it just looks a little odd to me. It sort of looks like your eye is inflamed and a bit infected. This is different from eye bags, by the way, but I feel like the amount I'm going to draw on this character isn't really humanly possible, so I hope that it doesn't upset anyone. I wanted to try and make it as exaggerated as possible, but also make it look cute. And I don't know, I feel I kind of like how it turned out. I mean, she looks a little uncanny, but it's almost a really cool, unique style that bends reality. It's definitely unique, at least. I didn't want to just make a character that is, I don't know. I wanted to draw it as best I could, and I had fun shading it. So the next one is tiny chin, and by tiny chin, I mean a chin that is like, it doesn't make sense, because like if you look at the way her jaw is structured, it just makes absolutely no sense. Her mouth should be positioned higher, but because the chin is so small, everything's sort of been pushed down, and this comes back to the face to skull ratio is just off, so then the face is like pushed up when it should be differently placed. And this tiny chin is, I see it often in art. People don't like to give their characters like chins, particularly in anime styled art, which it can look fine sometimes. And just for me personally, I like to give my characters chins. I'm guilty of this sometimes too. Sometimes the face just looks better with a smaller chin, but I feel like here she definitely could have had a larger chin. The next one is also entirely subjective because it's not necessarily incorrect, because I don't know, I feel like most people with fine straight hair textures have been victim to flat hair, and this is more an aesthetic thing that I'm not a fan of. I like hair to have more volume and bounce to it, so unless the character's hair is like slicked back into a bun, that obviously makes sense. But here I was trying to show that it's just like completely stuck to her head and there's no volume at all. Sometimes I go a bit overboard and I draw the hair so big on my characters. I don't know, I just like it personally. And the next one is a blocky hairline. I notice this a lot with characters who don't have bangs, showing that the hairline is just sort of, there is no gradation between the skin and hairline. It's just like little shards of hair, triangular shards into the skin. I don't know why this just bothers me. I just think it looks weird, but then I can completely understand it at the same time, because some styles, it just like, especially in like animation, it would be really hard to make, you know, a natural looking hairline And I'll put up an example of hair I did that shows the hairline recently, is what I'm talking about, where it would be really hard to do that in animation, right? So I understand why people do this. It's just a personal thing for me that sort of sticks out to me. The next one is also, I'm not saying it's bad if you have a tiny forehead. That goes for having a tiny chin as well. I just mean I see this often when a character's forehead is showing. It leaves no space for the eyebrows, and like everything is just so out of proportion in my opinion, that I feel like when you're sketching out the character, you're more inclined to do a smaller forehead because you're afraid of making the forehead too big. Once again, it gives a little bit of an uncanny appearance sometimes. Once again, I don't mean this in any way disrespect to people who have tiny foreheads. You are beautiful and there's nothing wrong with that. I just mean that I see it often in characters that where people who might not have the best understanding of how to proportion things, because it's not, and the people I notice that do this often, all their characters have this same feature, so I know it's not like a conscious decision that they want these characters to have different forehead sizes, because they all have these tiny foreheads where there's no room for the eyebrows, and the eyebrows are almost touching the hairline, which is just, it looks a bit strange. Next one is where the characters have all characters have no expression in drawings. I've been noticing this a lot with more elaborate styles. I feel like it's because the characters almost look a little scary when you give them more expressions, but I don't know, I'm a fan of the unhinged look in characters, if you haven't noticed. I love myself an unhinged character. It's just, especially for me, because like all my characters look the same, so I like to give my characters different facial expressions when I can, but I'm also victim to this as well, and it's just once again a thing for me. Like if I see someone who just draws, you know, front facing neutral expression, it's just not as exciting as it could be if they changed it up a bit sometimes, you know. The next one is like eyes nearly sliding off the face, and I feel like I could have done this better on this one to show you a better example of what I mean, but it's like where the eyes are just so big that there's no room for them, and like you don't want them to be too close together, so you just keep pushing them out until like they're hitting nearly the edge of the head and they're about to slide off. I've done this a lot of times, and then I just cover it up with like the side pieces of face framing pieces of the hair. But yeah, this is something I like to avoid because I like to try and keep my characters looking anatomically correct. Even though I draw anime styles, like nothing is anatomically correct, but you know, they're anatomically incorrect in a way that makes sense. You know, like I could draw a skull of my character that looks somewhat normal, but here it's just like things are getting so wacky, especially the jaw here. Next one is also just a subjective thing, is because obviously the irises of my characters are usually a lot larger than that of a real life human, and it's a common thing that you see in characters, but I find that when irises are like nearly covering the entire sclera, the characters start to look a little scary, uncanny in a way that's not favorable to me, but that's just a personal thing. And then the next one's just kind of I forgot about it, and then I wanted to add it on the end, is the no baby hair. And what I mean by this is like, I see this almost always, even in really famous animes, is like the characters have no baby hair. You know, like sideburns, when you pull your hair back, you're gonna have a little bit of hair there, but it's just completely bald on characters. I feel like a lot of people forget to add this in, and it's just something that always sticks out to me a bit. But that's all for this video, guys. Don't take it too seriously. This is just a video I wanted to do. And then a next video I want to do is inspired by Lavender Town, which I'm sure all of you know who that is. And that's going to be drawing female characters' appearances described in books, because I find that so intriguing, the way female characters are described in books. Maybe it happens to male characters as well. I don't know. I just see the Reddit posts about it and I find it so fascinating to read. I hope you guys have had a great Christmas and have a wonderful start to your new year, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.